Started with this custom reporting webinar. I should tell you that I'm not going to go into great detail about how to do a custom report in this one. I just kind of wanted to point out some new features in custom reporting. And we will be doing these webinars. We're going to be holding webinars every week. And what we'll do is we'll repeat the webinar. So for instance, we'll do this webinar one more time next week. And then we'll repeat each webinar at least twice, and then we hope to also have those recordings available for you out on WebLink. So if you get a webinar invitation and you're not able to attend, hopefully we'll have that webinar recorded and out on WebLink for you, shortly after those webinars have ended. We'll only record one session and put it out there, so we won't have multiples of the same session out there. Again, if you have questions, please kind of hold those to the end, and we'll try to open it up for questions at the very end. So, and if there's someone here who doesn't know anything about custom reporting and would like more information on just basic custom reporting, just email or call support. And if you have any questions or anything like that, follow-up questions, things like that, you can email support@managementplus.com or call the 800 number, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. So we're going to go into custom reporting, and I want to point out some of the newer features that we have. I know one of the new features that we have, and I'm just going to show you this one first, is you have the ability now when you do a word merge, the word merge letter itself, for instance, would not be saved in the patient's account. I know we've had a lot of questions about that. Can I save it in the patient's account? I want to do recall letters through word merge, but I want to have some kind of record that I send it out to the patient. Well, the nature of Microsoft Word is that when you create one of these word merge letters, and I'm just going to go ahead and create one really quick here. When you create one of these word merge letters, it actually, I'm going to do this by when the balance is transferred to the patient. So we've got a word merge letter that's going to be created. It'll take it a second to kind of pull that information up. When you create this, it is not created as separate documents, so each patient might be out there. However, it's only got a page break in it, so there's not really a way to grab that full document, put it out into the patient's account. However, having said that, we do now have the ability to add a note in the patient's account that says that we sent that letter. Let me find my letter really quick here. So here's my letter to Sylvia Smith, saying that they owe us and, we need them to pay us, or, we're going to send them to collection, something like that. So you can see each of these is just separated by a page break, okay? So what happens is once we save that letter, there's one thing that you need to do before we get out of here, and I'll show you that in just a second. But once you create that letter and generate that letter, we are now storing, if you tell the system to, we are storing information in the patient's account that says that we've generated that letter. So if you go out to the note field, it will say the date and then the name of that report that you've got out in custom reporting. So this was created today. The report is called 10-day letter under $100. So now I can actually look in the patient's account and know that I sent a 10-day letter to this patient on this date. All right. Now, in order to get that to do that through custom reporting, you do have to add a new field at the top. So we're going to go, back to my letter that I was in. So back to my 10-day letter. And what you want to do is in the columns for any report that you want to be saved in that patient note field, under the patient column, so if I was in charge claim, I'd want to find the patient column up here. As long as I've got the patient column in there, then you should have this new field that's available that says attach patient note. So right here, so over here you'd have the field attach patient note. So if you attach this field in here, then it's going to go ahead and put that letter in that patient's account. So it's going to show, hey, we did print this letter. Now we're going to show that that's out in that patient's account. So just this attach patient note, and then it will attach that into the patient's file. So that's one of the new features that's available out there for you in custom reporting. I don't know how many of you have ever used any of these, so we'll just talk about these for a minute. So you've got this XYZ field. This is really just allows you to put a static column. So you would put, if somebody wanted to see, I don't know, their initials on there. something like that. You can just put the column title, put the value, and it's just going to automatically create a column that just has whatever value you put in here repeated multiple times down the side of that report. This function button, and I'm going to have to get into a different report. Well, I can probably do it from here. If you do this FX column, it adds a calculated column. So again, you can name your column whatever it is you want to name, and then it can actually do some calculations for you. So for instance, if I wanted to take the patient's total AR minus their current AR, so I kind of get an idea of, you know, what's outstanding at more than 30 days, you can right-click here, and it'll give you the options of what's available. So if I wanted to take this, you know, AR 20 minus, and then I right-click again, the AR 91 to 120, then it's going to give me a calculated column with this information out there. Let's go create a report with that on it. Hang on one second, because this is our word merge, and it's not going to work exactly like I want it to. So I'm going to open a different report. Okay, let's open this report. So for instance, like I said, let's say that I wanted to know, I want to do the past due AR. I'll just call it past due. So I name my column. Can't type when people are watching me. And then I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to take the AR total. And the functions that you use are much like you would use in Excel. So, you know, star equals times, and the slash equals divide. So in this case, I'm going to do a minus, just do a minus, and then again right-click, and I'm going to do the AR 0 to 30. So in this case, it's going to take my AR total minus my 0 to 30, and it's going to create this column that says past due. All right, so that's one feature that I don't know that a lot of people have known about and have been using. So I'm going to just go ahead and say OK here. Down here, I put a date range in my AR report simply because we've been on the system for 18 years and haven't cleaned up our AR, and it would be really ugly. So I'm just going to go out here. And whenever you're in an AR report, it's going to ask you by date of service or when the balance was transferred to the patient. In this case, I've got an insurance report, so I'm going to leave it by date of service. And you can also put in that AR end date. We're going to go ahead and preview our report. So here's my calculated column that I put in. I took the AR 120 minus the AR 0 to 30, and I get this 482, which in the case of most of these people, it doesn't look like they've got. Oh, here's someone. So we've got the 1170, you know, 195. So it is taking and doing exactly what I told it to do. So it just creates that calculated column for you. So in this case, the column is 0 because when you take the AR total minus the AR 0 to 30, it leaves a 0 balance. All right? So that's how you can create a calculated column. And for those of you who may not know yet, you can have custom reporting open now and have a report open and get to anything else you want in the system. So let me just run this report again really quick and show you that as well. The only thing you can't do is you can't close the actual custom reporting field, or it will give you an error. So I can minimize this, and I can go out here and I can open up a patient's account and look at that patient's information. I can run a schedule and do anything that I want while I've still got that custom report open. Okay, so my custom report is just minimized down on the bottom, which I know before you couldn't do that. And so for those of you who don't have that feature yet, you would want to get upgraded to the latest version of Management Plus. And the other thing is I can also do a different custom report. So let's say I want to do this AR coverage summary report. I can generate that report as well and have it open at the same time as I have my other report open. So I can have multiple custom reports open in the system and still be able to look at this. The same thing is going to be true when you're opening your reports for claims. You can now minimize those claim reports and have those open while you're looking at other things as well. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this report so you can see this report, and I can just go ahead and minimize it. And again, as long as I don't completely close out of the custom reporting, then you're good. Okay, you just can't close out of this field right here, or you're going to lose the reports that you had open, and it might throw you an error message. But you can actually grab all this information out there. All right. There is a new field out there that a lot of clients are very excited about, and that new field, let's just generate a new report. So I'm just going to generate a new charge claim report. So this new field is this distinct. So this distinct says, I only want the information if it's not the same as other information. So it's going to allow you to do things like a report with distinct patients. So you can now count and see, send something only once to those patients when you're doing like the form letters and those kinds of things. Or show their charges only once, show the claim only once. So it just allows you, that distinct says, I only want you to show me on the report it one time. I don't want you to repeat it multiple times, which is good for scheduling reports where maybe you wanted to see, how many patients, how many unique patients you had over the last year. You could actually grab a report and do that. So I'm just going to quickly do an AR report here. And we probably want the patient name and account number. And we've added a lot of new fields as well to custom reporting, so you might want to go look and see what all those new fields are. Okay, so we're going to make this an AR report for patients. I'm going to go ahead and move this information up. Okay, so now we have our AR buckets in the correct order. And then I'm going to say distinct, and I'm going to go ahead and sort by account number and subtotal by account number. And then I'm going to filter by charge data service begin, again, just because our reports would be really ugly if I don't put something in there. And then you can filter by other things as well. You can filter by billing entity, by location, by all that type of information. And in this case, I only want it to show me if it's patient responsible. So I'm going to click on that patient responsible button, and I'm going to go ahead and generate a report, but I am going to make it landscape because I don't want it to wrap. And in this case, when it pops up, I'm going to tell it I want it when the balance is transferred to the patient. And it's going to go generate my very large report for me. Oh, I forgot to add a filter that said I didn't want to see them if they were a 0. See, I knew that immediately. So it is showing these because they're in different buckets. So it's not completely making each of these unique, but if I did a report for scheduling, which I'll show you in just a minute, it can make these exactly unique. It's showing these because they're different line items. So let's go ahead and add it. I don't want to see the charge balance is greater than 0. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a summarization only and get my bottom line total for that information. And what it does is it will still count. If I did a count, it would count uniquely the number of unique patients I had. So it's not going to count each line item because I have it distinct. It would count just those that were unique. So it kind of allows you to do that counting feature, which a lot of people have wanted to be able to do. So in this case, it's going to give me that summarization only. And it's going to give me that bottom line total for what's outstanding. And then I shouldn't have any numbers here that are not at least greater than 0, because I've told it I only wanted greater than 0. Okay. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a scheduling report so we can see that schedule information. put in our patient information. And make it distinct, subtotal, and filters. And I always tell people when you do a date filter, I would say 99.9% of the time you're going to want to do that at report time. So then it's always going to show you, it's always going to let you choose what date range you want to do when you're running it. Okay. And if you have a specific schedule disposition that you use when like the patient's closed out, so you know that this patient actually came in, that would be what you want to put in this schedule disposition. In my case, I'm just going to use schedule because we don't usually check our patients out. So. Oh, it's not doing what I wanted. So it is counting each date, but then I can further make that not be if I do a print summarization only. I believe then it'll give me what I want. Oh, yep, just a count of 509, okay? So there were 509 patients that we saw in that last year. I went back a year. So those are some of the newer features that we've added to custom reporting. Something else that a lot of people might not know about, so I want to point it out in here, is let's say you've created some great report that you absolutely love and you do not want anybody messing with your report. Well, you can always put your report in a group, under your group, but that still allows anybody else to actually get in there, you know, and look at that report. So even though I've got it in my group, you know, anybody who has access to custom reporting and has access to these types of reports could go ahead and get to that information. However, if you go out here to the security tab, you can actually go out here in security and say you don't want certain people to have access to this specific report. Now, whatever person you're logged in as, it's not going to show you on this screen. So I'm logged in as system administrator, so you don't see system administrator here. But you can actually right-click and not give them access. So you can say no access, or which means they don't have access to this report at all. Generate only, all they can do is run the report. Modify, they could modify the report, they could change it, but they couldn't delete it. Full access means they could do whatever they wanted with your report. So if you have created this great report that, you know, you've got running and it works perfectly for you and you don't want anybody to mess with it, you could give them just generate only access, and then all they could do is generate that report. They would not be able to change anything on your report. If you give them no access, then they can't even get to your report at all. They wouldn't be able to generate it, run it, none of that kind of information would be out there and available for them. So that's something else that you can do. And you can, like I said, give people no access, which, you know, you can give everybody no access or everybody default. Default means they've got whatever access they have set up under their security privileges. And then, like I said, you can give them other access or not access to that report. Something else that you can do that some people don't know is you can actually change the font. So you can go out here and you can change the, you know, your title. You can change how your filters show up. You can tell it not to print your filters, although I would never recommend that because then you don't know exactly what you're getting on your report. But you can change any of this information. You can make, you know, things pop up in different negative totals, pop up in red if you want, so that you can easily see them on your report quickly. As long as you've got a color printer, you'll be able to obviously see them on your desktop. You can change, you know, the margins, all that kind of information. So if you want to change something, just click on the little A next to it, and it lets you go out and change, you know, anything that you want. Maybe I want this to be italicized, and I can do that, and it changes my report title to be italicized. If you want it to go back to what the default setting was, just click this little button here, and it will go back to the default setting so that then you've got it exactly like it was before. The only thing that you can't set that way is this negative totals. You have to go back in and tell it to go to black if you want it to be black again. And then one more thing while we're looking at this, which sometimes people also don't know in here, is you can change the name of a column, or you can also change the column width. A lot of times a report will wrap, and I don't want it to wrap. So if you go out here and you right-click on any one of these columns over here, you can rename the column, so you can name it anything that you want. So you can make that column header shorter. Like let's say I wanted to make this one shorter. I'm just going to rename this column and call it CLMRES, so claim responsible. Just click out and it will save that for you. So once you save this report, it will always do this on the top of your label. Will say this. And then if you wanted to rename, set the width, so claim responsible, you know, I might not want 2 inches if you just do change column width. You want to backspace out of this first and then put in what you want the column width to be. Maybe I want it to be 1.75. Now if you don't back out of it, so let's say you wanted to change the column width, if I don't hit the backspace key and clear this and I just say I want this to be 0.75, it's actually going to do 75 inches, so it's not going to say OK here because it says, hey, your report is not 75 inches wide. So it's best to just back out of that first, and then you can put in that 0.75. But that's a great way. Typically, these totals have at least an inch. Oh, I put that back. Have at least an inch margin. See how this is 1 inch? And most of the time, you wouldn't need an inch for that. So one of the ways to make your report so it doesn't wrap is just to change that column width and make those slightly smaller so that then everything can fit. I mean, sometimes you're going to get a report that's going to be way too long anyway, and you're not going to be able to fix that. But you can go in here and change the column names, change the column width. All that type of information is out there and available to you. Okay? So that's kind of some of the features maybe people don't know about custom reporting, a couple of the new features that are out there and available. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. Whoops, give me 1 second. Okay. No, Patty? It won't let me unmute you, Patty. I don't think you put in your mute control, so it won't let me unmute you. But everybody else should be unmuted. So we've got about 4 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
The latest version available.
The latest version of Management Plus, and the way, for those of you who might not know, oh, hold on, I can't get out of here just a second. Oh, I can get out of this one. But I can't get out of here. If you click on this little About button, it will give you the database version. So we're on database version 6.2.5. And then if you click the version information here, 626 is our latest file. So we were updated on Monday. That's the latest version of Management Plus.
Thank you.
And so again, if you don't have the latest version and you want those newer features, just contact tech support, and they can schedule a time to get you updated to the latest version. And just so everyone knows, we also have the capability now for you to be able to update yourselves anytime you want. There's a new icon that is on your server that allows you to update to the latest files. And if you want to do that, again, contact technical support and ask them to train you on that. And we can train whoever your IT person is or whoever typically does that in your office. And then you can go out and check on a weekly basis, a daily basis, and see if there's updates. And you can go ahead and update yourself to the latest version of Management Plus. Because we do updates at least, usually weekly. They're typically like little small changes somebody needed for whatever reason. And then we try to send out, if there's brand new features, we try to send that out.
Is there a way to sort by secondary insurance for AR? So I only want to know the secondary claims that are pending, not the primary.
You right now have to show primary and secondary. However, We are currently in the process of creating new AR reports, and we've specifically asked that they have the ability to show the primary versus the secondary versus the tertiary.
Okay.
So those reports, I believe, will be available. They're not available right now, but we're looking at, like I said, adding some more stock reports and adding some more custom reporting features for AR reporting. So if you have a wish list for AR reports, go ahead and email that to support, because we're working on our development team's working on those right now. Other questions?